Okay.
All right.
So, unfortunately, we're going to have to redo
Start out.
everything.
Okay.
What? I think you did that on purpose.
I didn't, but see if you can remember your talking
Oh, I can
points.
remember, but now you've got, say, I think you did that on purpose.
I didn't. Your points
Already-
sucked, so I started over.
Already, I feel like there's some
Shenanigans.
gamesmanship going on. I like it. It's
Okay.
fun. Okay, so hey everybody, it's
Are
the
you
phone. Hey everybody, this is Travis and Brandy here again with Pop Event Company, and we're doing our next episode of Pop Debates. And today we are going to talk about seating chart at your wedding versus no seating chart at your wedding. So
You are.
I'm going to be pro seating chart today, and Brandy is going to be no seating chart. We'll talk about that a little bit. Discuss a few points. I will eviscerate Brandy and make her feel bad, and at the end you can decide who won and comment for yourself and what you think. Organization. So I think obviously a seating chart is certainly much more organized. It gives a much more organized impression from a guest perspective. But more than anything, I think it's easier for one when you're caterer, especially if you're having a plated meal or you have people at your wedding that have dietary restrictions of any kind, whether it be food allergies or vegetarian, pescatarian, that kind of thing. If you don't have a seating chart, your caterer has no idea where that person is, what they look like, and there's very little chance that they're going to be able to get their meal in a timely fashion. If you have a seating chart, it's like, oh, there he is. There's that guy or that person
Yeah.
that needs this gluten-free spaghetti noodle casserole or whatever,
Bowl.
and
Dish.
and they're so easy to find, and they can eat with everyone else without having to go into the kitchen and be like, yeah, you got a meal for me? No problem. It's already done.
Okay.
And it'll allow you to maximize your venue space better. So make sure that you're a little bit more organized with how your space is laid out.
So to counterpoint what you just said, that only really works if it is a plated meal. Because if it's a buffet style, it actually creates a little bit of confusion because your caterer is focused on food service on the buffet line and not on the individual plates. So what you do have then are guests who bring a plate into the kitchen asking where their meals are. So I feel like from an organizational standpoint, while a seating chart helps you with a plated meal, it also can be a huge headache when it's not a plated meal. So to that effect, when you also say it maximizes your venue space, where your people are sitting really doesn't play into your venue layout. Your tables do, not necessarily the individuals. So in my expertise, in my point of view, what I find more often than not is even with a seating chart, more people come in and they say, I'm going to sit wherever I want to, because they know this person at that table. And I actually think that is the exact opposite of what I see. It doesn't maximize, it creates an issue because people then want to pull 2 more tables over to table number 8.
Okay, so I'll make 3 counterpoints very quickly to that.
Okay.
First of all, then you're inviting a bunch of jerks to your wedding if they don't respect the seating chart. Respect the seating chart, people. Okay, number 2, it does let you maximize your venue space, even more so from the standpoint of less likelihood that a crasher can come in and sit in Uncle Frank's,
You got a lot of crashers?
Uncle Frank's seat, okay?
Uncle Frank's the crasher.
And third point would be, do you really want dirty Uncle Frank walking around the kitchen going, hey, where's my meal? No, you don't, okay? You don't want that.
Okay, first of all, nobody has a dirty Uncle Frank that's just showing up. He
I beg
probably
to differ.
is a
I
wedding
bet you
crasher.
do.
He is a crasher.
So for me, dynamics, again, I think it's important to note that you're gonna avoid wedding crashers and people that aren't supposed to be sitting where they're sitting. You can control the fun people and put the fun people together. You can put the people that don't get along very well far away from one another, and you can control where Uncle Frank sits. Okay, so for example, if Uncle Frank has a propensity to be chugging beers and using curse words and telling dirty jokes, you don't want him next to your Nana, right? You want him next to somebody that you don't like, that you didn't want to invite in the first place. You want to put them next to Uncle Frank. So that would be, in my opinion, there's even no argument. Let's just move on to the next subject.
I'm just sitting here like completely dumbfounded because I feel like your pros are very negative, and I think this Uncle Frank fella is horrible. Just so you know.
Well, okay, so
he shouldn't have been invited.
Okay, well let me just counterpoint that. What if everybody likes Uncle Frank? Okay, what if Uncle Frank is fun Uncle Frank? Okay, then you want to put him at the fun table. You don't want to put him at the table where his skills are being diminished and he's being suppressed. No.
See, now to my counterpoint, I think having organic relationships happen at a wedding.
Make the next love connection, perhaps.
Not necessarily. Nobody wants to connect with Uncle Frank. But that being said, he could be very entertaining and people want him at different stations, right? So he has the ability to work the entire room if he wants to.
Well, I mean, he could easily get up and work every table if he had to.
Right.
No question about
Yeah,
it.
no, I just think with relationships, you know, you have a lot of dynamics in families that are coming together. There are always going to be, you know, kind of far edges of that, people that are very conservative, people that aren't so conservative. And so with that being said, I think having people meet on a real level and get to know one another at a wedding is, to me, the reason for a wedding. You want your families to intermingle because now you're coming together as a family. So it's all of our friends, all of our family, meet, love, hate, whatever the situation is, but we're all in this together.
Sounds like food fight to me. Like Animal House.
Or chugging beers with Uncle Frank.
Uncle Frank
Maybe
is like...
Nana wants to really loosen up.
Uncle Frank is like Bluto from Animal House, I think. So I do think, whether it's right or wrong, if it is important to you, having a plated meal or a seating chart of some kind just gives the event the impression of it being a little bit more upscale, a little bit nicer, and certainly better organized. So I think if you want your guests walking away with an impression of your wedding, I think that's a good way to do it. They're gonna feel like it was a little bit more of an upscale experience with just a little bit of extra work.
See, I don't know about maybe from an upscale, a plated meal, maybe still not a seating chart. Two different things. A seating chart.
They do tie together.
They should tie together. It's the only time you need a seating chart. What have I been saying, people? Only time you really need one. That said, I think from an atmosphere standpoint, again, a lot of it depends on the choice of venue, quite honestly, because if you have a very formal ballroom, then by all means, it should be almost etiquette to include a seating chart for something like that. But you always have to consider your layout as well when it comes to a seating chart, because now, in addition to a seating chart, you need an escort table. What? That has to play into. So people have to have a card reserved with where their name is, or you have to have multiple seating charts at different locations. It can become, even though it's organized, it just takes a lot of thought and a lot of process. And I will say that seating charts are probably one of the most stressful situations for a couple, because every time your RSVPs change, so does your seating chart. You have 200 people, it's a nightmare.
All right, so in closing, is there a compromise to the two ends of the spectrum, I guess you could say? What would you say?
I would say there's always a compromise. Like for me, I instead of having seating charts with assigned seats, I love a table chart so that maybe you just assign tables and you don't have to worry about getting into the details of this person sits at chair 1, 2, 3, or 4. That again becomes more of a headache to try to manage. But I think having assigned tables, or to even go a little bit further, having just reserved tables for the immediate family, so that they do have assigned seating when they come in from the cocktail hour. They know exactly where they're going to sit.
Yeah, and assigned tables would also, it would also work if you had a plated meal, or let me back up. Assigned tables would also work if you had guests that had dietary restrictions.
Correct.
Because they could certainly get to that table and ask for that person's name and easily, so that, I mean, that could be a good compromise. So there's no right or wrong answer, it's whatever works for you. And then I guess you can decide which one of us is better, and you know, just make Brandy feel good about herself. She needs
He
positive
sits on a
reinforcement.
throne of lies, okay?
All right, well that's our pop debates for this week. Like and subscribe, comment, let us know what you think, what you did at your wedding, or what you're thinking about doing at your wedding. And if there are any other points that may be valuable or helpful in the argument or the debate, feel free to share those with us too. Thanks so much.